Alright, what's going on YouTube? I'm back at you guys with another video. We're going to talk about Errol Spence return fight versus Dan Garcia, possible next fight. And we're just gonna talk about how he looked in general, man. Do I think he lost a step? We're gonna answer some of those questions now. But before we get into that, make sure you guys definitely like, subscribe, hit that the bell notification button, man. And I definitely would love to see some feedback after this, after you finish watching this video in full. But let's talk about it. So right now, what you're looking at, I have my tweets up from last night, which shows how I scored the fight. So I just want to talk about this though. I'm gonna talk about it briefly, and then we're gonna go round by round. I'm not gonna say all the details, but I like to try to be descriptive when I score these rounds. So overall, I thought Spence looked good. Do I think that was 100% Spence? No, I don't. I don't want to say he lost a step because this is his first fight back after 15 months and a horrendous like car accident. So we do have to take that into account. And it wasn't just that it was just a car accident. It was a 15-month layoff. I'm pretty sure he's like since he started. I think he said he started boxing at like the age of 16, and ever since then, I'm pretty sure he hasn't gone more than freaking 3 4. I'm not gonna say 3 4 months, maybe like half a year without a fight, and this time around he's went a whole 15 months. So, and he's getting back in there with a dog. Like Danny Garcia is one of the top 10 welterweights. I had him at top five, but him losing his fight kind of drops him just a little bit, just because he lost three title fights now at 147. So even though he had one against a older Guerrero, this has to drop him because right now, if I had to do a top five, I'll have to say Spence, Crawford. I would say I think Porter beats Pacquiao, so I will put Porter three. I would say Pacquiao for five. This might be sneaky. He hasn't fought nobody yet, so I don't want to put him there. But I kind of like Jerron Ennis, Boots Ennis, young dude from Philly. He's gonna by next year he's gonna be a problem. I don't think I now right now I think only people I think Jerome Ennis beats all the other two. I think right now he beats everybody with the exception in the welterweight division with the exception of um, Crawford. I think him and Porter will have a good one too though. I think him and Porter have a good one, but I would probably edge Porter just because I just haven't seen him in there with like the level of dog that Porter is, so I'll probably edge him there. As far as Pacquiao goes, I think he's just too big for Pacquiao. Pacquiao could point him to death, but I've seen like if you look at Pacquiao's last fight versus Thurman, he phased he the second half of the fight he just faded out, man. Like so that old age, that fatigue, that can beat like if Boots could steal some early rounds against Pacquiao if there was to fight, he'll probably win that fight. But yeah. So right now, like I said, I got Errol, Crawford, Porter, Pacquiao. I kind of want to put Thurman there, but Thurman, I don't know, man, how he's gonna look after these injuries. He has back to back. Like, I don't even think he's. To be honest with you, I don't think Thurman's gonna even fight anytime soon, bro. Like, he's about to be on a what 2 year layoff. By mid what when did he fight Pacquiao in July, August? I don't even know if Thurman's in the talks to fight any of the good guys. So, it'll probably be 2 years. So I'm not gonna. I can't keep nobody in the top five if you don't fight in 2 years. But if he does fight before then, I'll have him. I have him five, and then I have Danny six. So yeah, I'll say Danny just fell out that until Keith Thurman fights. Um, but yeah, let's get into it. So I thought Errol he lost a little bit of a step, but it could just be ring rust. He hasn't fought in 15 months. He's fighting a championship level fighter and a contender in Danny Garcia. Danny Garcia is one who has a lot of power as well. He's not Danny's. I wouldn't say he's an aggressive fighter to where he will put enough pressure on Spence to really test him. But he has a lot of power. He landed and honestly my main concern in this fight, what I wanted to see from Spence was conditioning. And because remember, he after the car accident, he probably went up to like 190, probably close to 200 if I'm pretty sure he did. So he had to lose all that weight. Um And then I want to see his punch resistance. So, cutting that weight, seeing if he made it healthy. And then this punch resistance was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. There was about 3 or 4 shots that Danny hit him with where I was like, ooh, ooh, Spence either like I know he felt that. It was a few of them that I'm like Spence played that off well. Like I know that hurt. And he came back and it was surprisingly it wasn't the left hooks that Danny was landing. It was kind of the right hooks that he was landing bombs on Spence, and Spence kind of ate them and still continued to come forward and put pressure on him. Uh the Spence pressure, man, that aggression, bro. I've never seen Danny look that fatigued in a fight. The last time I think I seen Danny fatigued so early was maybe like, well, not even early. The last time I seen Danny fatigued where he just stopped coming forward was maybe the Zab Judah fight, like when Zab kind of stunned him a bit. Even when Danny fought Thurman and Thurman was landing bombs, there was one time I think Thurman made Danny wobble a little bit, but Danny still walked him down, like he still came forward a lot of the fight. But this fight, man, Errol just kept the pressure on him. Danny couldn't get around a jab. Um, and Spence kind of wanted to fire too. I thought Spence would kind of play it safe, since this is his first fight back. He probably didn't want to risk too much, but he kind of came forward, and Danny was actually the one fighting on the back foot. Surprisingly, we never see Danny fight going backwards as much as he did. Even though he's a counter puncher, he can fight, but he usually stands toe to toe and will exchange with you. He really only looked to exchange with Spence like the first maybe like first 4 rounds. After that, like his timing was off a bit. He still couldn't get around a jab. Arrow was kind of black. He was lumping his left eye up. Arrow was working the body, and surprisingly too, Danny did a good job as far as going to the body too. So he landed probably about a good 10 shots that I know, like a good. I don't know per se, but I'll have to look at the stats. The CompuBond. I said CompuBond. CompuBox stats to see how many body shots he landed. But I can say that Spence definitely felt a few of those right hands to the body from Danny, and it kind of threw Spence in the air. Like you can see the way Spence was kind of dodging him, that he felt it a little bit. Um, but other than that, Arrow dominated this fight for the most part. I gave Danny Garcia about 3 rounds throughout this fight. I had it 9 rounds from Spence to 3 to Danny. And we can go look at my list. So as you guys can see, first round I gave it to Errol Spence. I said Danny landed some nice hooks upstairs though. That's when I was like, okay, Spence he took punch well. Then I gave second round to Spence. This was a swing round, uh, a swing round for me, but I still edge Spence just because I like the way he was, like his shots just looked a little bit cleaner to me. Third round, but that's when Spence kind of turned up a little bit. Then fourth round, I think Danny was throwing. He was throwing some good. He was throwing some good looping shots upstairs to the head. And he kind of was doubling up the hooks too with the right hand. And he definitely gave him that round. So right now through four, we got Spence up 3-1. Spence edged out round five. Like I said, man, I felt like his work was a lot cleaner. Like a lot of punches that Danny was even some of the punches that Danny landed, they kind of caught a little bit of Spence's glove. Like Danny, he didn't land them flush. Like part of it was hitting the glove, and then part of it he maybe touched him a little bit. So sixth round, clears round of the fight. Spence started turning up. Danny's eye. That's when Danny's left eye started really looking bad. Then we go all the way up to the seventh. Then the first round that I got after the fourth round that I gave to Danny was the ninth and the 10th. That's when Errol Spence. That's when I said, you know what, Errol Spence looks a little fatigued. Like even it like, and I could tell there was a difference. He lost a little bit of step because his fight with Sean Porter was probably the most pressure. The most pressure that like give and take though, because Sean applied the pressure and Errol Spence applied pressure on Sean. Danny didn't really apply that much pressure, and Spence looked a little fatigued in these last in rounds 9 and 10. Now I don't know if he was conserving energy because he didn't know if he didn't know if Danny had a second win in him, so he probably wanted to save a little. He wanted to take a couple of rounds off because he knew he already won most of those rounds. So maybe he was taking those 2 rounds off just to get a second win in case Danny caught his second win, I guess. But he definitely looked fatigued in those last 2 rounds for sure. and he just didn't have a lot of power on his punches in those in the rounds 9 and 10. And Spence came back round 11. He took that round 12. He took that as well. Danny waited to round 12, 10 seconds left in the fight to really let his hands go. And that was probably the biggest problem with Danny too. Like he just didn't let his hands go. Like even if you look during the fight, if you listen to Danny's dad in the corner between rounds, he was like, you're respecting Spence too much, bro. You have to put some pressure on him. You gotta let your hands go." Now, to in Danny's defense, I don't know 100% if them body shots were kind of breaking Danny down or the jab. He just didn't. He just felt like he just felt fatigued from the body shots. He also had like I think about 12 month layoff as well. So those body shots mixed with not being able to get around the jab, he didn't want to just run into shots as well because we seen Errol doing that left eye filthy, and that jab was just working all day for Errol Spence to be honest. So um. I don't know if that was the reason why Danny didn't apply much pressure, but if you look at the Keith Thurman fight, Danny damn near after the first 2 or 3 rounds, Danny started chasing Thurman around the ring. Really, to be honest with you, and I think I just watched that fight like maybe 3 4 days ago too. Danny was kind of doing the walking down, and then after that fight, if you look at the press conference, Danny's dad complained like, "Yo, how could you guys give Thurman a win?" When we did all we applied all the aggression after the first few rounds. Danny really was kind of walk down Thurman, and Thurman was on his bike. So I could say the same thing here. Danny just didn't apply enough pressure here, so that's why I'm kind of feeling like maybe it was the body shots from Spence that kind of fatigued you. And if you hear this, he also said Spence was the strongest fighter he ever fought. I don't know if that means as far as punches or as far as when they're like in the clinch, but he said Spence is the hardest puncher. So and now this is what I will say about Spence though too. I've heard this too. I think it was Chris Algieri or I can't remember who it was. I was watching an interview maybe a week ago. Was it Chris Algieri? I think it was Algieri. He's doing an interview and he talked about how he was like Spence hits hard, but he doesn't have like he's saying like well, he basically saying like Spence doesn't have that one punch KO. We all know he doesn't really, but he said like he just like the weight those punches they just wear and tear on you. So like when he's actually hitting you, it don't feel that hard. But like next thing you know, rounds go by and it's just like yo, damn, my body's breaking down on me right now. Like these shots are tiring me, like taking all my energy out. I think it was Chris Algieri. And that's the type of power that Spence has. And if you look, it happened in the Kell Brook fight. He wore Kell Brook down. Um, he did it in a lot of fights. Lamont Peterson, he kind of wore me body shots. I think the punch that really ended Lamont was the hook up, the left hook upstairs. I can't remember if it was the left hook upstairs. But if you look at a lot of Spence he jabs you to death and then he works the body. Like he gets you against the rope, go to the body, just throw spam. He's like spamming hooks to the body. So that's kind of like the type of power he has, and he's shown that consistently now. The only person I could say that really took Spence punches well was Sean Porter. Like Sean Porter was probably the only guy I've seen take Spence's punches well, and we see he landed a knockdown in that fight. So there was something else I wanted to get to in this fight, but I can't remember. That's why I was kind of talking about some of these other things with the Chris Algieri because I don't like editing. I like doing one take and getting through it. But I definitely want to talk about the situation, what's going on with him and Crawford. Crawford applying a little bit of pressure on Spence. I don't know. Gotta give me some nice little room temperature water right now. But there was something I want to say. I think I might have said it already, honestly. But yeah, Danny just didn't. I just never seen Danny look this bad, man. I never seen Danny's face look this bruised up in a fight. So I mean that lets you know everything, man. When Danny fought Porter, when he fought Thurman, yeah, he had some bruises on his face, but like he just looked demoralized after the fight, and he made no excuses. He just got outworked. But I would love to see Danny switch trainers, man. Now it might be too late for that. He's already what 30, 33, 34. How old is Danny? I think he's somewhere. I think he's like 34. So It's kind of hard to treat somebody some new tricks at that age, but good luck to Danny in the future. But now we're gonna talk about the Spence and possible Pacquiao fight. So, oh, matter of fact, before I get on the Pacquiao fight, I do have another link thing we want to get to. So, this is what I want to talk about with Errol Spence. So, he gave some respect to Danny Garcia after the fight. He said, "I do much better when I box, but the shit just boring to me." So yeah, like if you look, like he did kind of try to make it a dog fight. You saw like that fight with Mikey Garcia, he boxed him around the whole fight. It wasn't as exciting when Sean Porter, where you got somebody that's engaging back with you and forcing you to be aggressive a little bit, makes for a more exciting fight and more likely of a knockdown score, possible knockout. So, but this is what I wanted to get to right here. So this is what could have possibly held Errol Spence back from not looking as sharp and looking a little winded later in the round. So he said, "I'm hiring a nutritionist and getting back with my strength and conditioning trainer. I have to stop trying to do everything myself." So that's why I said, man, he looked a little fatigued in this fight, and that could possibly be the reason. Maybe he tried to do things on his own, like he said, and it didn't work out for him. If you look, let me see, go up. Oh, not that. There was something else he wrote too. I think he might deleted something. It was something else that he wrote. I can't find it. Yeah. So like I said, he just got to get his conditioning right again. He looked a lot better versus Sean Porter. Like they went 12 rounds of banging. Like I would love. Let me see. Matter of fact, I want to see how many punches were thrown in that fight between Spence and Porter. So let me see. 745 for Spence, 744 for Porter. Now let me see that for Danny Garcia. I'm pretty sure it's up here already too. I probably don't even have to Google. Mm, I might have to Google it. Oh, let me see. Is the stats up here? Oh, they don't got the copy box. Let's see if it's up here. Okay, got it already. Boxing scene. See how many punches were thrown? 7-0. Oh, yo, nah. I don't know what it is then. It says 707 in this. Nah, I don't know, bro. There's no way they threw more punches in a Danny. Nah, it didn't felt like it didn't. It did not feel like Danny threw 700 punches at all, bro. Wow. I guess he did, bro. But sheesh, it just didn't feel like it, honestly. And you know what it probably might have been for me. It's probably that Errol Spence. He probably threw less jabs. Spence and Garcia and no, he probably threw more jabs in this fight than he did in the Porter fight. So that's probably what I'm was probably making my mind think that he threw way less punches. But this is the last thing I want to get to. So it's this is a tweet from I don't know who this guy is, but he said he covers MMA and boxing for Yahoo Sports. So seems to be credible. He said he spoke to Knucklehead Sean of Manny Pacquiao Promotions. He said Senator Manny Pacquiao said he was impressed and thought Spence looked good. Still has the fire to fight in 2021 and would like to take on Spence. So I seen a lot of people killing Spence like, oh, how come you didn't give Terence Crawford? Why you didn't call out Terence Crawford after the fight? And you should have gave him some shine for this, man. And possibly, I think this might have been in the works low key already. So I felt like maybe Al Heyman had it set up to where Spencer and Pacquiao have probably talked a little bit behind the scenes and said, if you win this fight and you look good doing so, we can unify. You can put your WBC and your IBF against my WBA. We'll probably fight summertime or so. And I think this is low key why Spence is not even worrying about Crawford, even though everybody wants that fight. I even want that fight. I would prioritize it over him fighting Pacquiao, but I'm not mad at it because Pacquiao, I think he has one fight left with PBC. Terence Crawford still has two more with Top Rank, if I'm not mistaken. So Spence can take this W. Spence can take that WBA off of Pacquiao. Porter is mandatory for the WBC against Spence and the WBO versus Crawford. So he already said on the telecast that he was thinking about possibly taking the Terence Crawford route. He said he's leaning there yet, but he hasn't made a decision yet. But he said he's leaning that way because he's already fought Spence. He hasn't fought Crawford. And honestly, I like that, man. So, if Sean Porter activates his mandatory, Terence Crawford's not gonna drop that belt. So he's gonna fight Porter. He gets to him. That sets up to have an undisputed, because Spence is taking those belts, or taking that WBA off Pacquiao. So he takes that. He has three belts. And now that discussion about who's 60-40, like what's the splits are gonna look like, Spence has the biggest case for the 60-40, and if Terence Crawford turns that down, then we can say somebody's officially ducking, because but then Terence Crawford should probably be on his last fight with Top Rank. He could probably sign the PBC or do one fight deals, and then there's no discussion about anybody ducking. And then this fight can also be for undisputed, which will be perfect. So like, yeah, we had to wait a little while for it, but if it happens next year and it's for undisputed, that shit is gonna do on PBC. That shit might do like, I can really see that doing 750 to maybe, depending on the promotion and the marketing, and if Terence Crawford really like wants to market himself and really make this a big fight, I can see this doing 750,000 easily on pay per view, and both their purses aren't going to be too crazy. Like what they're probably going to make Spence probably going to make what 8 to 10 mil guaranteed. Crawford about 6 to 8. So, and then probably 60-40 of the pay per view revenue. So between those, well, it's not gonna be revenue, but because the promotion companies take damn near half of that shit. Like Fox is gonna take like half of that shit. So, um, yeah, this shit could be set up perfectly, man. And I just can't wait for those fights. Hopefully it goes out. Hopefully it turns up that way, because I'm not gonna lie, man. Crawford needs that Porter fight to really build, like, to solidify his welterweight status as pound for pound, man. Since he's been at 147, he really hasn't fought anybody. So this can be his first real test. He takes on Porter. Spence gets Pacquiao, undisputed, fucking in this next December or whenever that fight happens, and it's just gonna be lovely to see. So that's how I'm looking at it. I think that's how it'll probably go. But yeah, what else do I want to get across? Hmm. Yeah, I don't know. It's just that Errol Spence has proven that he's big fish now. And the crazy thing about this Errol Spence fight is that this wasn't even him at 100%, and he just beat Danny convincingly, like, and that was the worst Danny's ever looked after a fight. So it's kind of crazy. But with that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Give this a thumbs up. Definitely like, subscribe, do all that good shit, man. And I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Peace.